Often with Emily Dickinson, there is something transcendent and truly incredible on the page, but just off the page is something that is possibly horrifying, something that is maybe terrifying to the core of what it means to be a human being. For example, in Hope is the Thing with Feathers, the thing that eludes the poem itself, ironically, is the fact the birds are always flying away. If hope is that thing with feathers, it is highly unlikely that you catch it. We have an example of something like that in this poem as well. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another poetry discussion that comes to us from Emily Dickinson, and as such, it will be in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one, the poetry discussion playlist. Number two, the Emily Dickinson playlist. The poem in question today is known as When Night is Almost Done, and it reads as such. When night is almost done and sunrise grows so near that we can touch the spaces, it's time to smooth the hair and get the dimples ready and wonder we could care for that old faded midnight that frightened but an hour. So, when night is almost done, night's almost over, sunrise is almost here, it's almost time to get ready for the day. That's what these three lines here are about. In those moments, when we see the daylight coming, when a new day is almost upon us, we are left to wonder why we care. Why is it such a big deal? The midnight that just passed. So, inherent in this, obviously, is the fact that our speaker is conscious of that midnight, whether that means the dreams that our speaker had or our speaker was awake. But there's something interesting in that final stanza as well. Wonder why we care about that midnight that frightened but an hour. So we're talking about something frightening for which we still show care. This seems oxymoronical, right? But it is not. In fact, sometimes in the deepest relationships, in the most confusing relationships with other people, with things, with substances, we understand that dichotomy between loving something and the negative effects therefrom coincide. So this could be a bad relationship with a partner. You do care about that person. But when that person goes off the rails, that is frightening. That is no good. As someone who has struggled with addiction, someone who has struggled with alcohol, there was a time in my life where I felt as if that alcohol was necessary for me. I felt as if that were necessary to me being me. In the heat of that type of addiction, it does not feel as if it is superfluous. There is a level of care there. If I don't have that thing, will I be able to create? If I don't have that thing, will I be able to write? And heading back to the sort of beginning of this poem, distancing yourself from that substance, distancing yourself from that person, distancing yourself from certain situations, you get this feeling, this clarity, almost as if a fever has broken, where you realize, no, No, that thing is not necessary. So pushing that thing away, pushing that relationship, that person, that situation, that substance, pushing those things away, we come to this clarity when night is almost done, when we have nearly crawled ourselves out of that addiction, out of that relationship, out from that situation, where we are once again finding ourselves in touching the spaces and smoothing the hair and getting the dimples ready. In that process, we look back at ourselves when we were lost and realize that no, that thing was not necessary. So, this seemingly simple poem from Emily Dickinson, 8 lines, walking us through the pre-dawn process, has all of these things in it. But there's something that's not in it, not directly. There's something which is implicated by it, and that's this. Let's read this poem one more time. When night is almost done and sunrise grows so near that we can touch the spaces, it's time to smooth the hair and get the dimples ready, and wonder we could care for that old faded midnight that frightened but an hour. Conspicuously absent from this poem is the mention that midnight hour is coming again. That midnight hour is coming right back. It will be up to the speaker here, the individual in this poem. It will be up to that speaker to recognize that midnight hour growing near and remember that preening process. Remember that midnight hour is so small, passes so quickly, and is not the thing which defines the speaker, his or herself. Knowing a little bit about Emily Dickinson, you have to wonder, what caused this poem? Is this a troubling family relationship? Is this the unrequited love that troubles her as she lays down to rest? Is this poetry itself being maddened with the state, the fury of the written word, being lost therein? What could it be? Because this poem is not this poem is not written about something in some far-off land that maybe Emily Dickinson has not experienced, but she's seen pictures of a Tasmanian devil in Van Diemen's Land, so she wants to write that poem. No. This level of nuance, this level of depth, and the clarity with which it is explicated in 8 lines, this is something that this speaker has lived. This is something this poet has lived, has been through, has done. It's not necessary that we answer that question. It's not necessary even that we ask the question. But I think when you find things like this which speak so clearly to something alive in you, it's natural to wonder, you know? You meet someone on the street that gives you the perfect piece of advice for something that is in your life you wonder how they knew that thing, right? It's the same principle here. And if we are allowed to wonder that, we have to wonder, how often did midnight strike for our speaker? How often did midnight strike for our poet? That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos a week. There's poetry every Monday, so consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.